Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you, well, what else could I give you on May the 4th? Of course, we're going to give you some glorious Star Wars content. The thing that I'm going to be primarily focusing on in today's video is this epic piece of Shatterpoint terrain diorama. It is, of course, the duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. This kit was very kindly provided to me for today by Eirehobbies, who are in themselves doing an epic giveaway for Star Wars Day for May the 4th. I'll leave links down in the description below. They're doing up to 20% off all the Star Wars goodies in their store. So that's a pretty good reason to go and check them out on this awesome day. I think it's running till about Tuesday for them. So you have a little bit of time after this video is released to check them out and get some Star Wars goodies for yourself. The other epic piece of support we got for today's video is, of course, this glorious lightsaber, which was given to us by Damien Saber. It is a beautiful piece. It's hard steel. Comes with loads of different options for colors, pommel. It's got a great weight to it if you want to use it for cosplay. It has got a resilient shaft, so you can of course use it for actual dueling and sparring if you so wish. They have an unbelievable selection of bits and pieces on their website, which we will of course link down below as well. There's apps to control this thing. So for instance, you just saw it on the blue setting, but with a small press of the button, it will say something.
Wanderer.
Now it's purple. This epic lightsaber has dozens of different colors and stuff available to it as well. So it's a very nice thing to get. They actually reached out to me many months ago and asked me if I would like to do a review for one of their lightsabers. And before I even thought about it, I said yes. Because when somebody calls you up or sends an email to you asking you if you would like to have a lightsaber, the only logical response is to say yes, which is what I did. And then I didn't really know what to do with the lightsaber once it arrived. Hence, it has sat on my shelves for a little bit longer than it should. But of course, with May the 4th being upon us, I don't think there's ever been a better time to break it out and show it off to you guys. So I'm very pleased to have this. Thank you so much for your support. Like I said, links to both Eirehobbies, where we're going to be using the Shatterpoint terrain, and Damien Saber is going to be down in the description below. As of right now, it is time to get in and show you guys how to paint up Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the scenery piece all in one video. So this is going to be an extra special, extra length video for May the 4th. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys so much. Okay guys, obviously I've got to construct this piece of scenery slash miniatures. I keep calling it scenery, but technically it's a diorama. The duel. So it represents the Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting Darth Vader in the desert, scene from the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. Although I'm going to go a completely different route with it. This beautiful scenic base that you have here, the bit that the duel all sets into, I really love it. And I just wasn't excited to paint it in desert. I just wasn't looking, I don't enjoy painting desert all that much. So I think it would be fun to just flip it on its head. Everyone else is going to paint it as desert, so why not try and do something a little bit different and go a whole different route. So what I did was I sprayed everything separately. The bases are fully sprayed, but then I blue tacked them into the scene without the miniatures so that when I painted it up, they would blend in and match in. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form going to try and steal the techniques or the color choices that I'm using in this video. These colors, step for step, are taken from an Artist Opus video. He did an amazing video on the downed ATST miniature for Star Wars Legion. I watched that video when it came out, years ago now at this stage. And it's the video that teaches you how to use his dry brushes. So I've actually used that video a couple times to kind of reorientate myself and remember how to use the brushes properly. But having watched that video, I loved the color that he got with the rocks and the color that he got with the ground. And then when I decided not to do that as a desert, my brain just kind of clicked and I wanted to use those tones and those colors step for step. So if my description of how this is painted, this scenic base is done, isn't up to your kind of standards, or you want to learn a little bit more in depth on how to use these dry brushes, the color choices and why, or how to remove the correct amount of paint from it, you can always check out that video from Artist Opus. It's on the downed ATST, but I think it's the video is how to use his dry brushes, how to dry brush, something like that. It's a brilliant video. It's definitely worth a watch, especially even just this. Like if I had have just decided to do it as the brown and gray rock, I would have started with a gray, dark gray, whereas he's going through the blue gray style, which I think just leaves an absolutely phenomenal result with it. So it starts with Dark Reaper and then kind of Dark Reaper mixed in with a little bit of Fenrisian gray and so on and so forth up through the different gray tones. to get a result on the stone, which really is quite staggering. It really stands out. Now, I add a couple of extra steps to it at the end. Actually, the very end of the video with some weathering powders and stuff, because obviously the rock is really, really nice, but it's a little bit too clean at the end of it. And I definitely think there's going to be no real rock formations in like a jungly, more grassland area that's going to be that clean, I don't think. So here we are into pure Fenrisian Grey and continuing the dry brushing stage of this. Now, this is my first Shatterpoint piece of anything that I've done. This is my first piece of Shatterpoint. Obviously, I've been quite excited by the concept of Shatterpoint since it was announced. 54mm, a little bit larger scale in miniatures. I thought the scale jump would be a little bit more noticeable, but the model didn't feel that big. And obviously the aesthetic of them is beautiful. Darth Vader looks fantastic, the scenic base looks fantastic, and Obi-Wan Kenobi does look fantastic. As goes the quality of the miniatures, for the price, I'm not sold. I'm sorry if anybody else out there feels like they're the best thing ever, but I got so disheartened and so just disappointed by two particular points while constructing this miniature, this whole set. One is the thickness of the lightsabers. Why are they so thin? Why are the lightsabers on a model that's 54mm with the Shatterpoint a lot thinner than the models for a 28mm game in Star Wars Legion? I think the lightsabers look much beefier and much better looking in the Star Wars Legion game set than the toothpicks. They're smaller than toothpicks. I was watching the Trapped Under Plastic podcast, I think last week, and Scott was showing off his Vader that he's doing up. And as he was showing it off, the lightsaber had snapped off and they were making a joke about it. I now know why it snapped off, because any kind of slip or anything, and that is just pinging right off. It was horrible. So, like I said, if anybody has any ideas as to why the lightsabers are so thin, please do let me know, because it's so irritating. And two, when they obviously sculpted the models, they did a fantastic job. Whoever the person is that then took that sculpt and broke it down for its component parts and put it on the sprue is an idiot. The connection point and the gluing of Obi-Wan Kenobi on his back is an absolute, I mean, it's a disgrace. It is just a T cut taken straight out of the middle of his cloak and straight at the shoulder blades. So you get this absolutely disgusting mole line straight down the middle of his back and then all the way across his shoulders and around both his arms. Like, capes are the easiest thing to design that you can hide the connection points. A simple fold, boom, glue those two together. You don't even know it was ever a separate piece. I cannot fathom who decided to do this and how it got through all the kind of tests and everyone just was like, yep, that seems perfectly normal to me. If you in fact look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi painted on the box, it has a horrible line going through its shoulder as well. And I just don't know what they were thinking. So those are my two gripes. That's it. Everything else about this video is great. I promise the end result is great. You don't notice those too badly. I'm still super nervous about those lightsabers, but you know, we'll get by this. So as you can see, I've been going through the stages of kind of browns and then stone, ground, stone, so they kind of blend together a little bit better. Obviously going up to a bone color for the ground and then celestial gray for the final highlight on the rocks, giving you these two really nice kind of bright, vibrant colors. And obviously we will blend them together a little bit more. Like I said later on, I'm going to use extra touch with some weathering powder and stuff like that. Now obviously the crashed speeder and the other metallic parts that are on this scene are obviously supposed to be a bright silver. I decided not to go that route either. I didn't want to detract from the two characters. So I'm going to go for my traditional rust scheme. If you guys don't follow my channel, you know I'm actually quite a big advocate for rust. And I use the same kind of technique whenever I'm doing rust. So I start with a Rhinox hide base coat, and then I stipple it with Ryza rust, and then I dry brush it with lead belcher. That's it. 3 stages. If you want to know how to do rust, super quick, super efficient for weapons or old rusty armor or old wrecked tanks, trader guard, anything like that. Rhinox hide, stipple with Ryza rust, dry brush with lead belcher. Simple as. You can go a step after that and add in some oxidized or whatever, but me, I find that to be a very simple and easy technique to get really effective rust. Obviously it is May the 4th. I love May the 4th. Obviously got to try and decide what exactly I'm going to do on that day to celebrate Star Wars Day, which movie I intend to watch, or maybe I'll revisit a series or something like that. Star Wars has of course been an amazing part of my life for my entire childhood, really. It was one of those movies that me and my dad bonded over. I remember him showing me a New Hope. Absolutely hooked. And it took me quite a long time to get to see the The Empire Strikes Back. It was a good while. And it was under quite bizarre circumstances, not my happiest period in life, as I did have a slight accident when I was, I don't know what age I was, but I basically decided that it was a good idea for me to jump up on a park bench that was wet, and I slipped and fell face first onto concrete. And unfortunately I smashed out, or half of my front tooth got smashed out. It was my not baby tooth, it was my adult tooth, so it obviously required, but that was a horrible experience. My dad took me home, and obviously at the end of the day I was quite hungry, but I didn't want to eat, and I was feeling kind of sorry for myself, so he made me a big plate of scrambled egg, and then he went and rented me The Empire Strikes Back, and I got to sit down and watch that, and that just made me forget all about my crappy day and the horrible pain in my mouth. I got to put some food in my belly and watch an absolutely amazing movie. So even now, considering how horrible that day was, that day is a fond memory for me now, because I got to see Empire Strikes Back for the first time, which is insane. So, you know, you got to take the good with the bad, as they say. As you can see, here I am going in with the lead Belcher dry brush over the Rise of Rust stipple. And like I said, I think it does wonders for a really effective looking rust. And as this is going to be set in the jungles, an old abandoned fighting arena or wherever it is, Obi-Wan Kenobi was being hunted down by Vader, and he finally hit this planet and they had to face off or whatever. You can see those lines around his arm. Yeah, awful. So time to get some base coats on this guy. So we're going to start with Agros Dunes, and we're going to use this for his undershirt and the wraps around his ankle to keep his ankles protected, or to keep sand out of his boots. I don't really know what they're for. I guess they could be for both, I guess. Protecting your feet and ankles, which is important in any kind of harsh environment. Keeping anything that wants to drip or crawl into your boots out of your boots. And an extra layer of protection, so pretty good. Okay, so from here, we're going to go for Gore Grunta Fur, and then we're going to use this for his pants and his boots. Now, I probably could have done a different color on his boots, but because there's so many different layers of tan and browns all through this model, I could have gone a dark brown, but I knew that I was going to do his cape in a darker brown to start with and then build it up, so I didn't particularly want to start the boots there. And I think the wrap breaks it up enough, and I don't really layer up the boots later on. They stay that kind of that color, and then I brighten up the pants so that it pulls them in two different directions. I think it works great. Gargok Sewer was used for his Jedi robes, and I think it's the perfect color to start as a base coat for that color. I really do love it. Now, as is tradition, when I don't paint, basically how my mind works is when I'm painting Games Workshop stuff, I use Games Workshop paints, always have. And I will endeavor to always do that, because I'm sure the majority of people who are painting Games Workshop miniatures and following along on my guides have Games Workshop miniatures, so they're gonna have Games Workshop paints. But when I'm not painting Games Workshop paints, I get a sense of freedom, and I can play with all the other ranges of paints that I own, and I tend to lean, as usual, on the Too Thin Coats range. I know I've harked on about the Too Thin Coats range. I don't know how many videos worth of content now about those paints. I did 10 Bretonian videos, which I use them on. 10 videos solely on Bretonians for, yeah. But anyway, I'm going to use that to layer up here as well, because I'm actually finding it a really comfortable set of tools to paint with, especially in the layering process. And the result that I get in Obi-Wan at the end made me super happy. I was delighted with it. Yeah, I have absolutely no affiliate with Too Thin Coats or anything. They don't pay me to say nice things. I don't get anything out of them. Obviously, if you use my Element Games affiliate link and order some from them, then obviously I get a little bit of a kickback. But other than that, it will be no more of a kickback if you use my Element Games link and bought a Games Workshop pint. So it's like, you know what I mean? They're just great. I still have not gotten my hands on the third wave of paints yet, so I'm very excited to get stuck into those at some point. But I'm nearly at the layering stage of Obi-Wan now. I'm just going to put some lead Belcher on the hilt of his saber. I decided to grab that Gore Grunta Fur that he used for his pants and base coat in his beard and hair as well to get that nice kind of almond brown hair that he has. And this is it. This is our base coated in Obi-Wan. And like I said, it's now time to start the layering process. I'm going to pick each individual part, and then I'm going to use the Too Thin Coats to either apply 2 or 3 highlights, depending on the part and depending if I need to pull that color up a little bit more. For instance, we're going to start with Dragon Fang, and that's obviously going to be for the wraps on his legs and his undershirt. As you can see, this is where I get kind of careful, and this model is, this model goes into a diorama with a duel. So A duel is something very different than like a regular painting project, because the whole purpose of a duel is for it to sit on a shelf, and then when someone comes over to kind of scrutinize over it, they're going to be trying to look for all the different details and stuff, so they're going to be looking at the whole thing. So you can't really slack on any part like you can for a kind of tabletop gaming style miniature. So that's why I'm going to go up the kind of 2 or 3 stages with each paint or each section of the model and try and make it pop. And I do enjoy it. I enjoy the layering, especially with the 2 thin coats. I find that using the triad system, they just let you know which color is the best one to kind of stack on top of the next until you get this really great result. Like I said, starting with the shirt, getting that layered in, following the natural lines of the creases of it. As you can see, as we go up to the next color, it really does just start to look like we put a lot of work in, even though we haven't. It's all a trick. Weak-minded will fall for this. This is not the model you're looking for. Vampire Fang being the final highlight of that. And as you can see, I'm going in with just very thin lines to highlight those areas where the light's going to hit them the most. And that'll just make those sections pop. Obi-Wan Kenobi I found was a much easier piece to paint than Vader. Like I said, even though it's just all different colors of tan and brown, there's very distinctive sections and it's very easy to pick the next layering color. With Vader, it's black on black on black with some lights on his chest. So as a process of painting it, it's actually a little bit daunting to try and figure out how to paint Vader. Maybe that's why Miniac is painting his all pink and stuff, because black is kind of boring. But anyway, as you can see, I'm working up his trousers now, going once again with those natural lines and all the folds, and then using the same color to highlight his hair, and once again following the strands and painting his beard and his mustache and all those kind of bits and pieces. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Vader when we get to him. But I would rather paint an army of Jedis than, I don't know, an army of Vaders with Death Troopers, I guess. Okay, so now we are going to start working up that big, beautiful robe that has that big, dirty mole line through it. So we're going to start with Dust Bowl. And obviously, when you look at the artwork for it, it's not quite browns. They vary from like a brown to like a rich tan color for the Jedi robes. And I actually went back as far as looking at like Alec Guinness's colored robes, which were much more of that kind of tanned brown. You know, that's in between the both. I know it's kind of confusing, but you'll kind of see the tone I go for by the end of this, and I think it really works for the color of a Jedi's robes. Because when you picture it, you just think of it as like a whitey beige color, but it's not. It's a bit darker than that. I don't actually know what color you would call a Jedi's robes. But anyway, the model is detailed enough that and obviously it's all the different cloths, so you can just follow the folds and make sure that it stays nice and dark in all the recesses, and then much brighter on the kind of raised areas of the cape. And work through the different tones. At one stage I was trying to do like a feathering technique, but that was looking a little rough. I think that technique is sold a lot easier on a 28mm miniature. The 54mm miniature, it looked kind of a bit too streaky, so I decided to go for the smooth lines down the back of the cape. Obviously jumping to sandstone for the mid-tone of the 3 colors. And once again following it, but going much less. You don't need as much on it. These highlights are getting smaller and smaller with each stage, getting brighter and brighter to the highest points, which obviously accentuate the shadows, the shade. Like I said, with the issues I had with Shatterpoint, I don't know if I would bother buying any more Shatterpoint miniatures. I have no intention of playing the Shatterpoint game. Star Wars Legion is a big thing for me. I enjoy painting the miniatures for them. I think a lot more. I think I get better results from them. I painted a bunch of Mandalorians, Grogu, Din Djarin, Boba Fett for Legion so far, and I loved every single one of those processes. I painted the Luke Skywalker from the start of The Empire Strikes Back. It's actually one of the limited models from Star Wars Legion, and I loved it. So if I ever had, like, you know, money in my pocket and I want to buy some Star Wars stuff, the odds of me picking a Shatterpoint piece over some Legion stuff I think is very slim. I think the game Star Wars Legion is a little bit better. Sorry, I don't know why I said that, like I know what I'm talking about. I haven't played Shatterpoint, but I do enjoy the Star Wars Legion game. I don't think I want a skirmished combat game for Star Wars. Time to work up through the skin. So we started with dwarf skin for the first coat. And then after that I did throw a thin down Carrierburg Crimson across his face and hands as well. Just add a little bit of shade and shadow back into it. It was looking a little bit too pale. Didn't record that step, so I do apologize. And then after that, I did just jump up to Elf Flesh and re-highlight the face. So as you can see, even though all the colors are different now, the tans and stuff like that, I think they're all highlighted to us at quite a high standard. High standard for me, mediocre, remember the name. So much so that like I'm quite proud of how that looks. And I wanted to make sure I got a good detail on his face. Now, there is actually another mold slip across my Obi-Wan's face. So on the right-hand side of his face, that side, it goes from literally the top of his eyebrow down and curves around back to his mouth. There's this horrible line, which I have to try and highlight out. But what are you going to do? So here's all the robes and stuff done. The last thing to do is, of course, give him his traditional beautiful blue saber. And all I did was grab Talazar Blue. And because I left the Grazier from the base coat on the miniature, one coat of Talazar Blue down the blade gave me a beautiful, bright, vibrant saber. I think it sells the style very well. Now, like I said, I am mediocre. I'm not going to be trying any OSL or any glow effect or anything on his hands or coming up on his face or any of that jazz. Better painters than me can do that if they so choose. And then I obviously glued him onto his base. His base will get lots of grass tufts and stuff at the end. I just wanted to wait till the very end to add all that in. All right, it's time for Vader. Now, as you can see, Vader is just all black. And now I have to decide how to make all the different black parts look slightly different, which was daunting. But I think I figured out quite a cheeky, sneaky way of starting the model off, which did help me kind of power through and get it painted. So the first thing I'm going to do is dry brush him Lead Belcher, which may seem absolutely insane, and the camera didn't want to focus here. But it's a very light dry brush across his chest and his arms and his shoulder pads. And by shoulder pads, I mean he's got this huge big armored kind of collar on. And that, if you do look at the artwork and stuff, those bits tend to be just a little bit chipped and worn, his boots and stuff, which obviously helped all the detail kind of scream off and pop out on him. It looks really good. And from there, I felt a lot more confident going, okay, so I'm going to leave the armored bits kind of like this. And I'm going to work up his like undersuit, which is a different color. And then his undersuit is like the brightest part. And then after that, we jump up to his cloak, which we will leave in like the mid-tone. So first thing is, of course, his boopity lights. The boopity lights are a little bit of an continuity. There's the word my brain was looking for. Nightmare, because some of them painted them differently and different Vaders have different colors on his chest. So I did my best to find the correct colors, the reds, the greens, and the blues, and where they go, and apply those appropriately. Of course, gave him red eye lenses as well, as he does have glowing red eye lenses. They're not glowing too much, but they're glowing a little bit. And then obviously I don't want him to look this silver, even though it actually does look kind of cool. So my plan to hide that is to cover it with Nuln Oil, and that's what I'll be doing now. I'm going to apply Nuln Oil all over Vader, just to settle his armor down a little bit. You'll still have those nice highlighted silver bits underneath it, and it will stand out and look really cool. Is Vader the coolest bad guy of all time? I mean, perhaps. I mean, I think the coolest scene, there's so many cool scenes with Vader, but that comic book scene, the, you know, stand down Vader, you're surrounded. The only thing I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. I mean, that's pretty cool. Imagine saying that, being completely surrounded. Fear and dead men. And then, of course, that corridor scene. Give anybody nightmares. Going back to Lead Belcher with a little bit of a smaller brush to paint, of course, the handle of his lightsaber. And now I think we are officially ready to try the Nuln Oil. It is, of course, the 18mm pot, so it's the thinner one. And we applied this all over. So every single bit of him got shaded, even his cape. I perhaps would have enjoyed him being a slightly different colors. For a painting, anyway. It's like Phasma. Phasma looks awesome, but she's just all silver. A bit like Din Djarin. Din Djarin's armor looks amazing, but you'd wonder what his household colors would be, what his clan colors would be. That would look awesome. Okay, so obviously we're jumping up to the mid-tone of the Two Thin Coats Black range, so we're going to go for Death Reaper. And this is what I mean. We're going to use Death Reaper to highlight all the parts on Vader that aren't armored. So not his shoulder pads, not his helmet, not his knee pads down onto his shin pads or his groin armor or any of the boopity buttons on his chest. All those are going to stay exactly as they are. Everything else is going to go up through and get highlighted as the mid-tone. Very simple, but it definitely stands out a little bit from the base coat color. And it does look like you put a little bit of work in. Now, to differentiate the other bits, when we jump up to the next color, which is the Dungeon Stone Grey, I'm only going to use this to highlight the kind of his arms to his gloves, and then his like hips to his knees. That kind of armor section, and the bit that runs, he's got like a waistcoaty thing that goes around the sides of his boopity buttons. And we're going to hit that with a little bit of that Dungeon Stone Grey as well, and highlight those. And then we're going to leave that like it's like his flight suit almost. But we're going to leave the cape and stuff the black that it is. So now we have 3 distinctive areas on the miniature, which are all black, but all different blacks. So he doesn't read as this completely kind of flat model. Obviously, we will highlight the boopy colors and his eyes and give him his beautiful lightsaber. Will also draw your attention as well. But I think also paying attention to the black areas is important. And I think the result we got is fairly nice. Do I think he looks as good as Obi-Wan? No. But I'm still happy enough with him. Happy enough to put this whole thing on a shelf as a diorama piece and have people gawk at it and think it's cool. I'm at that happy point at the end of this project, especially with the baseboard that I did and the Obi-Wan that I did. So obviously we didn't spray this guy Grey Seer, which means we are going to have to go in with by hand and paint a coat of Grey Seer across his blade, before we then go in with a red contrast, Blood Angel's red, and apply that up the saber's blade to give him his notorious red lightsaber, which would of course be glorious. Once again, a big thank you to Damien Saber for sending out that lightsaber for me. I've been playing with it non-stop ever since you guys sent it. And if you guys are in the market for an awesome lightsaber, do not hesitate to check out that website linked below. I try and do my due diligence as well, so we did go and look up online some reviews and stuff of these guys, because obviously I'm not an expert in lightsabers. I mean, if I'm doing a review on a 3D printer, I'm pretty comfortable doing that, or a model or a game, but something like a lightsaber I'm no expert on. So I made sure that it was to high quality, and all the reviews seem to say that you get quite a lot of bang for your buck. It is usually a lightsaber of this quality would cost you 300-400 quid. This is only going to cost you like 150-200. So you're getting yourself big savings for a high quality lightsaber, which I think is really cool. So time to add the final details to the baseboard. So we're going to get some dark earth pigment powder from AK, maybe I think it was AK, and apply this into some of the recesses and anywhere that dust and dirt would settle. So anywhere that's like a shelf or a line. Obviously this will break up that kind of flat amount of gray that exists on the kind of little cliffside. I think the cliffside looks great, but obviously no cliffside should be that clean or is that clean. And then I got some light rust pigment powder from the same brand, and I applied this to some of the rusty areas as well, just to make it pop a little bit more. Obviously the light rust that I gave this model already can get a little bit swallowed because there's so much brown in it, into a base that is almost entirely brown. So by adding these little bits of orange, I think it's going to add just the extra bit of spark that I need for me to be happy with the final result. After that, I did give the entire piece a varnish. So I got some Minotaur varnish from Games Workshop out and sprayed this over the entire piece, not the miniatures, just the baseboard, to make the pigment powder adhere. And this gave us this as our final result for the baseboard, except for, of course, all of our grass tufts and stuff that we're going to be applying now. So I've broken out my box of grass tufts and flowers, and I just went into turbo mode and started applying big grass tufts, small grass tufts, and orange flowers as far as the eye can see until I was happy with this piece. I was going to put some static grass on as well, but static grass can be a little hit or miss, or whether it looks like kind of realistic or whether it looks a little bit flat, or you know, I could easily have accidentally made this thing look like a pool table as opposed to some sort of, I don't know, plains area where they've come across each other to fight. There is definitely tufts of life, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do adore grass tufts. If you guys have never tried grass tufts or any of those old static grass flowers or anything like that, go on to somewhere, Green Stuff World or any of the other awesome websites that can sell them for you, and start buying them. They're not that expensive. It's a trick that I learned with Squidmar watching his videos. I'll be placing an order for something. Let's say I need some sprays or something. I'll go to a website, I'll order, you know, 3 or 4 cans of spray, and then I'll throw in 2 or 3 packets of grass tufts. Even if I don't need them, I just look for kind of interesting colors or extra length sizes or shades, and I grab them up because they will always be used, and hence why I can just reach into a box full of different kind of colors and shades and flowers and just start sticking them to this diorama. I didn't have to go looking for them specifically for this diorama. I already had them, and they usually cost kind of 5-6 quid a packet, so it's not going to break the bank for you to grab an extra packet every time you're in a hobby shop or something like that. So you can see orange is my favorite color, so I definitely wanted to play that into it as much as possible. I even added some grass tufts and stuff of flowers growing up the side of the cliff face itself. Anywhere where there, once again, is that like little crack or a little ledge, anywhere where there would be a little bit of flower or weed or something that would grow out of it. If you guys did enjoy the Star Wars Legion stuff and you do want to pick it up for yourself, like I said, Eirehobbies is running a special discount for the May the 4th. I think they're running it till about Monday, where you can get up to 20% off. So if that seems like something that could excite you, you want to grab some Star Wars Legion or some Star Wars Shatterpoint or X-Wing or anything like that, then you can go check them out as well. If you're not in Ireland, let's say you're in England, then please do go to somewhere like Element Games. Use my affiliate link. It will cost you absolutely nothing extra, but the channel will get a little kickback. And Element Games usually sells about 15% below market price anyway, so you are going to get yourself a saving. And as a final result, here we are. Here is my duel scene from Star Wars Shatterpoint. Like I said, it's supposed to be desert. I shifted the whole mood for it with the use of kind of browns and grays, and we still have an awesome duel, I believe, from the notorious, sinister Darth Vader and the heroic, noble, and good Obi-Wan Kenobi. I really enjoyed painting him. Like I said, if he wasn't sculpted so, or cut up so badly, you can see that line right down the middle of his back right here. Things like that didn't happen, I would be much more keen to buy some more, but we shall see what happens in the near future. But as for now, I'm super happy with the final result of this piece. Okay guys, and there we have it. What an epic May the 4th video we have produced for you. Not only have we had lightsabers, we have also showed you how to put together this awesome piece of scenery. Obviously, I varied quite differently from the standard box art. I did not want to paint Tatooine desert like every single Star Wars thing ever. So I decided to do rock and grass and foliage and have a bit of fun with that. And I'm really pleased that I did. I'm super happy with the way that it turned out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you let me know by liking it. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below, whether about the lightsaber, about Eirehobbies, about Star Wars, about painting, about anything. Just ask me, I'll get back to everybody. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on all future updates. If you would also like to support the channel and help us grow even bigger and stronger, then there's links in the description below also for my Patreon. You get access to a private Discord server, and you get access to a vlog style video every single day from me, keeping you up to date what's going on in my channel, and also giving you guys the opportunity to direct the flow of the channel, i.e. what videos I make and why. If that sounds like something for you, like I said, check it out below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I'll see you in the next video. And may the Force be with you.